Welcome to the States of Matter, a podcast from the Institute of Refrigeration's Women in RACHP network. I'm Karen Perry, and here to co-host is our network chair, Lisa Jane Cook.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to welcome our guest today, our friend and steering group member, Carley Fountain.
Hello.
Hi, Carley. This last few years have been amazing for you. Winner of a We Are City Rising Star Award, a amazing role model and STEM ambassador. Growing your own business, but also your family too. We're really excited to hear all about you and your life in RACHP. But firstly, let's start at the beginning. Talk to us a little bit about how you got here and what you do in the industry.
Okay, so I got here by accident. So I started off, my working life was in a pub, just earning a little bit of money whilst I was at university, which I was at university to study in graphic design. So it was during that time I got to the end of my degree, and I think at the time, it was just at the tail end of the recession. So it was very, very competitive. Struggled to get a full-time job. Still carried on working in the pub. And at the time, there was a regular who came in, who I got to know quite well, and he had his own air conditioning business. And it was a few conversations with him back and forth. He was looking for somebody to come and work for them, sort of do a bit of marketing alongside helping with general admin. And that's really where it began. So that was back in 2012. Just thought, brilliant, got myself a full-time job. I had some transferable skills, so I got good customer service skills. I was very organised. I was managing a team of waitresses, so I was able to use that alongside the graphic design stuff that I'd done at university. So sort of always not lost at that time. As I've been there a little while, actually my focus on my job became maintenance, and I was running a team of engineers, and I'd organise service visits and things, and I was actually quite good at it. So it was just, I was just happy plodding along with that kind of thing. Didn't ever really think that I'd have a career out of air conditioning. I don't really know what I wanted to do at that time, but it was just a case of great, I've got a job. I like the people that I work with. I enjoy what I do. I very quickly built up knowledge and understanding of different air conditioning systems and heat pumps. So I was learning as well, which is always good. And then it was during this job that I met my now husband, Carl. So we was working together and we got together. Then sort of everything went a little bit wrong with the company we were working for. They went into liquidation, and I just had a baby. So that was brilliant timing. But at the time, we sort of both sat back, had a conversation with each other. He was working out on the tools, so he had a lot of experience with installing, maintaining. He did all the on-site stuff, and I had a good understanding of the office stuff. So at the time, so this is going back nearly 10 years, we said, well, how hard can it be? Let's give this a go. Let's see how we can make this work. So we sort of set up as a little team. I was about 5 months into maternity leave at that point, so that was quite challenging at the time, I think. But from then, as they say, the rest is history. We've just gone through it together, all the highs and the lows, and ended up where we are now. So we're almost 10 years in. We've got a small team of people that work for us, mostly family. We've got a good number of different customers, ranging from air conditioning to mostly air source heat pump customers. And we do a bit of everything, bit of installation, bit of service. Quick recap over the last 10 years as to where we've got to today.
I didn't know that. It's incredible that you actually, both of you, just so brave to set up your own business at that time in your life, because it is stressful when you have a new baby, even when they're 5 months old. There's always something that's going on, you're going through the weaning process maybe at that point. So you've got so much going on as a parent, and then to make that leap, but it's obviously paid off 10 years down the line as a small family run business is really quite incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's all I've ever known. Running a family business or running a business and raising children, I've only ever done it together. I've never, that's all I've known. So I suppose in a way I kind of thrive a little bit in the chaos and under pressure. There's always been times where it's been really hard, either personally at home or within the business, but it's just been like the other has seen me through, if you know what I mean. So, you know, being able to plough myself into my work when it was tough at home I suppose has been a little bit of a blessing, and vice versa. Like, you know, if it's particularly tough at work, then, you know, I can absorb myself a bit more at home. And I suppose remember why I'm doing it. I've gone from having just, you know, one kid at the beginning, we've now got 3. So yeah, it's just busy, busy, busy all the while. But I guess that's what just keeps me going.
I really like that it's a joint venture as well, between that you and Carl started that business together at the same time with using your different skill set as well. It wasn't a kind of, I joined the business because Carl was out on the tools. And then you've got the family for the future, for your future.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
How do you balance it though? You know, running a business and being parents, you know, that there's so many things to get involved in as a parent, whether that be going to a dinner at school or, you know, a post-school activity group, you know, just how between you are you actually balancing that?
I think for me, I see having my own business as a bit of a perk. So I am able to take that time to say, actually, I am, you know, I'm not going to miss that school performance, or, you know, I've got that parents' evening at that time. So I manage my diary, and to an extent, we manage Carl's diary so that he can be there for those times as well. And, you know, times when they're poorly, it's quite easy for me to have that flexibility. I think the key thing that I've learned over the years is to have a good support network. And that's not just in terms of having people to help with the kids, that's people help with the business. So there's lots of things that we outsource. I've got a team of like a couple of people in the office who help with admin, but things like the more important stuff with the business, the accounts and things, we outsource. So I have an accountant who helps me. We have somebody help us with health and safety. I have people who help us with our IT. So it's having good network of people around you that can support you. So when it's, you know, if your personal life is particularly busy, I know that I can speak to my accountant and say, I'm really busy at the moment. Can I just lean on you a little bit extra this month? Or I am going to need a few extra reminders because I've got all this going on. And yeah, generally, that's sort of how I've learned to navigate through everything, I suppose. Just, yeah, you just got, I suppose they say that it takes a village to raise your children, but I suppose like it takes a village to build and maintain a business as well, I suppose.
I think that's really important point you just made there, and it kind of made me reflect on something last week. Had a couple of holidays and actually had to almost say to someone, you're going to have to kind of give me a nudge if I haven't done something. There's no failure in forgetting to do something or missing a deadline, but yeah, if you're tackling so much and someone's not there going, don't forget about this, or I need this, you sometimes need that extra push.
Yeah.
I think everyone tries to be perfect and get everything right, but yeah, we're not all perfect. We're all juggling so much kind of work and personal life as well. Sometimes it's good to have that network around you that can politely remind you of something and support you, rather than just kind of, they're pretty useless, they've forgotten that again.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a business consultant who I meet with her once a month, and I'll say to her, I need you to hold me accountable to make sure that I'm doing X, Y, and Z, because I'm spinning a lot of plates and they'll be the ones that I drop. So yeah, sort of she then picks me up a month later and says, where are you with this? And helps me build that time in as well. So I think it's just recognizing, like you say, like we're only human, there's only so much we can do, and there's no shame in just asking for a bit of help along the way.
Obviously, you've got all that going on. So you're running your own business, you're a mum of 3. You also find time to do STEM work, to go into schools, you support your local college. How did you get into all of that?
So that all began with, I think, you two ladies back in, it must have been during COVID. There was a webinar that you ran, and because we was in COVID, I had the luxury, I suppose, of having the time to get involved in these webinars. So yeah, I listened in, and through the back of that, I was able to sort of, I suppose, reflect on where I thought my career was going. I think I realised at that point that sky's the limit. So yeah, then getting involved with the IOR, and then from there, that was it was the World Refrigeration Day that was able to sponsor me in STEMazing, and I did this Inspiration Academy with STEMazing, which at the time I thought, oh, this would be really good for helping me with like public speaking and things like that. I don't think I ever really thought that I would do as much as what I have done or will be doing. So once I'd finished the academy, which was all online, I then got in touch with my daughter's school and said, well, this is actually good fun. I quite like doing this, you know, with a group of kids, and actually I want to do it face to face. So yeah, it just started off. She's at a small school, so I was able to get involved with her school. The next thing I know, I'm doing it for another school and then a friend's school, and before I know it, like I've probably got four or five schools under my belt that I was seeing regularly before I had my last baby last year. And then yeah, with the college, that came about, I think, through being active on LinkedIn. Actually, one of the course managers got in touch and just said, be great to have you on a panel for women in construction. And then before we knew it, like just a few back and forths, getting involved in what they're up to. Next thing I know, I'm like running workshops for year 10 students who are looking around the college. So yeah, I think it was just seeking opportunities as well. Like they would present themselves and I would just sort of say yes, because I think it's not just me sharing stuff with children and helping them to feel excited about STEM. It's also I'm gaining something and I'm learning about myself and how, you know, what challenges and things that I can overcome. So yeah, I think it's all round, I think it's just a win-win. So yeah, I think last year, I think I did about 25 hours voluntary work before I went on maternity leave in July. And then I've already set up conversations for when I go back to work next month for doing more at school with my daughter's school. So yeah, I'd like to be busy.
I think that's it. You've kind of opened that can of worms now, haven't you? But what I really find inspiring about you is that you have taken it further than most. So you obviously got a bit of a bug for it. You know, some people dip in and out, but you just seem to be constantly doing more and more of it. And it's really inspiring that, like I say, just that you have the time or you've made the time. I suppose that's it. You've committed to doing it because you're passionate about it. And I really love that, because you're not only being that positive role model in schools with the children, but you're also helping to put a spotlight on our industry as well. You know, there's not so many of us. I have to say, for quite a few that have been through STEMazing, especially in our industry, sponsored by World Refrigeration Day and the Institute of Refrigeration, we've had a great opportunity because we really do have a large number. And I think that has really, really helped.
Yeah,
Definitely
definitely.
helped.
And I think that's probably why, you know, I see from my network the amount of women versus men that are within the industry. And I think that's probably when I do go and do STEMazing, I suppose at the forefront of my mind is how I can share what I do. So it's not just like I'm coming to, you know, play with balloons and things. Actually, I have a job working in an industry that could really benefit from having fresh and diverse people coming in, and yeah, sort of just put that spotlight, like you say, on our industry, because it's not just a case of, oh, so you fit air conditioning, you must be out on tools, or you know, you fit big chillers or whatever. There's so much more to it, and you need such a varied skill set within the industry, and we use it everywhere, like whatever, every part of our life we benefit from refrigeration. So yeah, we need these people, don't we? We need these children to want to come into it.
Just to be seen, that's it, as a career choice and an industry choice, because it's not, you don't think of it when you are in school or colleges or anything like that. And we found when we've done some of the kind of been on panels and things before, and it's often like within general kind of public schools, yeah, they're not subjects that girls are interested in that STEM side or get involved with more, certainly within refrigeration, construction, mechanical, electrical.
Yeah. I've been at a school, and I was at the college and I had some school children. I think they were 14, 15-year-olds, and we was talking about renewable energy, and the girls in particular were like, well, why do we need to be listening to this? I was like, well, do you not think your ideas are valid? Like, so your ideas are worth hearing. If it was just the same people who had ideas all the time, then we wouldn't really get anywhere, would we? So I was like trying to highlight, you know, we need you in this as much as we need the boys. So I think when I was at school, it certainly was and I wasn't at school that long ago, but I was still, you know, girls did the textiles and the art and design, and the boys went in the workshop and did the woodwork and stuff. So I think it's so important that we've got that shift and equal opportunities.
It seems really peculiar, and even you, I would have been at school before you, but it seems peculiar to even think it, doesn't it? That it kind of, and the same as you, the girls did cooking, home economics and textiles. Things didn't move forward at
No,
all. Boys did woodwork. I think in sports, since I've left school, I mean, girls did netball and hockey, boys did football and
yeah, same.
rugby.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's changed a lot now, and you probably know more having children in school now, but yeah, it's kind of the wider subjects has got to change as well, hasn't it? Not just kind of sports and because they're visible to people.
definitely, yeah.
I still can't cook, but or sew. I should have done woodwork.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
It must be really interesting as well because you've had insights at the different stages of education. So, you know, I've seen quite a lot of like short films and things about how when you sort of talk to younger children, how they don't have the same gender bias as you do sort of as you grow, it seems to become more ingrained. Did you see more of that when you were talking to the children when they were visiting the colleges? Like they were more sort of pocketed and like it's expected that I'll do this.
I think so, yeah. And I think like going from my own experience at home, I have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, both girls. And my 9-year-old is very much, that's a girl job, that's a boy job. They're girls' clothes, they're boys' clothes. Girls can't do that. Whereas my 5-year-old is like, girls can do anything. So I think it is as, and but I think that's environmental, it's all around us. You know, stereotypically you see male jobs on the telly and female, you know, female nurses, male doctors, you see male engineers. I think it's getting better, and there are, you know, I try and steer them towards things that maybe are a bit more real world in that it is available to everyone. But yeah, definitely when I've got a group of 5 and 6-year-olds, they are much more open-minded. Whereas I think the children that I've seen who are older, the teenage girls, are very like, that's a man, like men do that. I don't want to be doing that. There's heavy lifting and this dirty work. I want the men to do that. Yeah, it's nice to be around the younger kids who are very much like, we can do whatever we want. And that's for the boys as well. Like the boys are, you know, it's not just the girls who are like, we can do anything. It's the boys. The boys are the same. Like there's no gender bias for them. It's not a girly job. It's just, I like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I guess we've got to be present at all stages, really, I think, when you look at it like that, because yeah, we need to plant those seeds, and whilst they don't have that gender bias when they're younger, we still have to introduce them to all the opportunities because as we know, like we've talked about, our industry's hidden. So there's so much, and there's probably so many opportunities that we don't even know about in engineering because there's little pockets all over the place of things that you just don't think about. But it's also like nurturing that and making sure that they don't start to go down those gender norms and follow those biases as they grow, because that is what's happening. So we've really, I suppose, got to look at expanding our presence like across all levels of education.
Yeah, definitely. Like the younger the better almost.
And so I mean, you said with the college, you really found that through LinkedIn. So that goes to show sort of the power of networking and social media.
Yeah.
What sort of advice would you give for somebody that's looking to grow their network like that, to find new opportunities, or to perhaps get into like secondary schools and colleges to talk? Because I think the opportunities at primary school, they do seem to be more active on like the STEM website. So sort of how would you recommend somebody gets into those sort of places if they wanted to?
To begin with, I think if you're going to increase your social media presence, particularly on places like LinkedIn, I think you've just got to be yourself. And that's, for me, that was showing the good, the bad and the ugly. Like, I think that's what's made me real to a lot of people. And that had really helped grow my network. And I think I am a little bit like, what you see is what you get. So I think just be real if you're going to be on social media. I think when it comes to actually getting involved in schools, I think the first thing to do is to become a STEM ambassador. So once I finished this amazing Inspiration Academy, I then went on to become a STEM ambassador. And it was quite a simple process. They support you through like becoming an ambassador, and then that then opens up opportunities as well. But I think it's just if you've got something that you want to share, get involved in things like career fairs, you know, speak to, if you've got children, speak to their school. If you've got friends with children, speak to their school. Like everybody, you know, everybody knows somebody who's at school. So that was sort of my angle in. I started off at my children's school, and then it was my friends' schools, their friends' schools. So yeah, that was sort of just having them conversations. You know, are you having a careers day? Is there anything that I can do to support that? This is what I can offer. And it doesn't, I think, make it fun as well. Like, I think standing in front of a PowerPoint presentation, just flicking through, this is who I am, this is what I do, doesn't always engage. Whereas if you've got something, a little workshop or little activity, something that they can get involved in, make it memorable, then you engage everybody within the room, and then they then leave remembering they came in and did that STEM talk, and actually that was really fun. So that's, yeah, there's lots of resources out there. STEM Ambassador is a really good place to start. If you're able to do STEMazing, I think that would be my recommendation, definitely.
That's what I recognised with it as well, was at work, I'm used to kind of public speaking on screen and things, that first part of it was so key to people to be confident on screen, where to talk to on the camera. The bit that scared me was the kids in a classroom, but once you do the first one, just absolutely brilliant. And I always refer to the first one I did, and one of the girls actually said, so what have you invented then? Because their view of STEM is you must be an inventor. So I obviously made up something really exciting about heat pump. How have you kind of tailored that to kind of what you do with heat pumps as well? Because I think that's where we can really engage children now into that sustainability and decarbonisation. How do you kind of tailor that into what you do day to day to make that sound exciting?
If we're talking about my job, I try to do an activity that goes with it, that talks about energy. It doesn't necessarily have to be like renewable energy, but just energy in general. And then I then go down have the conversation about how important energy is, like it's all around us, and then sort of start talking about why it's important to use that renewable energy. And I don't want to go down the route of save the penguins and the polar bears, but actually with children it's quite an easy way to get them talking about it. They're familiar with, oh yeah, you know, we've heard things on the news about how the world is changing, and then it's quite easy then to start those conversations and say, well, actually something that you can do at home is think about how you're using your energy, how you're using your heating. If you're wasting energy, it'd be great if I could sell them a heat pump, but that's not what the aim of the game is it? But yeah, just making them more aware, I suppose, is, you know, I think we're quite lucky, the majority of us, that we have heating systems in our home. And I suppose quite a lot of us maybe take that for granted, that we're able to just flick the heating on and warm ourselves up, but actually it's thinking about where that comes from. So yeah, it's just that awareness, just having those conversations, and I guess being led by them if they've got what questions they've got to start those conversations, really.
Sustainability is definitely a way to engage with the younger generation. I've seen the same. And obviously it's really easy for us to make that relatable to our industry. I mean, and you talk about the energy, you know, you can talk about the fact that we're consuming, you know, almost a fifth of the energy produced globally with cooling. And then all of a sudden the impact of what we're doing is really visible. And that I've found has been really engaging. And like, kids really do care. They just seem to be so much more switched on and understand the impact of this than any other generation before. So it's definitely a really good way to hook them in.
Yeah,
definitely.
and I think it's easy when you've got things like, you know, we're talking about solar panels, like it's quite easy to start conversations about that, and driving electric cars, wind turbines, like they're things they're familiar with. So it's, you know, having those conversations, and sort of one way or another you can sort of all link it back to how they're using their energy at home. And oh, well, I work in, you know, this is my job, who knows what air conditioning is, and most of them know. Oh, when you go in Tesco's, they've got air conditioning, and okay, so who's heard of a heat pump? And talk about fridges, you know, who's got a fridge in their home? So it's quite easy to make it relatable to them, to then go on and say, oh, did you know that you can, you know, there's a renewable way to heat your home, and this is what it is, this is how it works. Just talk to them about it, because like you say, they are very aware. it's quite easy, I think, to have those conversations. Much easier to have it with them than it is the older children, I think.
Heat pumps is such a good topic as well. So I'm going to sort of take a little bit of swerve away from talking about your career
Yeah.
and talk about skills. So you said you predominantly do heat pumps.
Yeah.
So how do you see that evolving for us here? Because obviously we've got quite a target heat pumps to install. So how are we going to tackle that? Or how should we be thinking about tackling that?
My opinion is we need better training. We've already got heating engineers out there because, you know, heating homes is not a new thing. We've got a workforce that we need to upskill, and it needs to be done in the right way. It's being done already. We're starting to see that, but I think we've still got a long way to go. I think a big problem was the bad press that heat pumps have had over the years. I think it's probably made other heating, you know, people who are predominantly installing fossil fuel heating systems, probably made them reluctant to want to get involved in heat pumps. But I think if we can upskill them, you know, ultimately they're then going to be passing on and sharing their knowledge down to apprentices and whatnot. Then I think that's where we've got to start to actually get them numbers. I don't know if we'll ever reach the numbers that they put out there, but I think that's to give us a fighting chance. That's where we've got to focus our attention. There's not enough, I think, in training up those coming out of school. I think we need more in colleges, we need more real world experience for the younger people coming into the industry. But for me, that's where I see that we need more resources, definitely. I think if we can have that, what I've seen so far in the last, I mean, it's probably been for us in the last 4, maybe 5 years where we've seen a shift from it being aircon over to heat pumps as to being where we do most of our work. And in that time, we've had those big companies come in and start doing more work. And that actually has been beneficial, I think, because more people are having heat pumps, more people are having good heat pump installs, they're having good results from their heat pumps. So actually the bad press is much less now. So the conversation is shifting around heat pumps. So I think if we can keep going in that direction, get more people installing them properly, then actually, yeah, I think it'll be a good thing.
I think the bad press there you mentioned is, yeah, there's a lot of myths, and there is still a lot of disbelief out there. And we had a conversation recently with a guy on there that we bumped into that was a heating engineer that was, they all need ripping out, and my other half, who's also a gas engineer, installs heat pumps, was kind of having this discussion with them that they had to walk away and agree to kind of disagree on it.
Yeah.
But it is destroying those, and I think it's that quality of the install as well, because a lot initially those homeowners that maybe the early adopters that had problems or issues, that the expectation that what's the return on investment, when will I get all my money back, it's having different conversations now and just talking about a property in itself and what you can do and get rid of all that. Of course, of the government support and government funding as well needs more kind of reviewing. But I think certainly with the training, I know with some of the larger manufacturers are able now to offer free training because of the benefits they get, which is huge, I think, as well. If you go back and look at the myths and legends about gas when that was first kind of going into people's homes, it's the same arguments, the same stories, the same content, and newspaper headlines as well. And yeah, look at us now, we wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah, and I think it's change, isn't it? Like, I think once we've sort of embraced that change, I think more people now are starting to they're familiar with heat pumps, they've heard about heat pumps, they've seen them advertised, so actually they're not quite so scary anymore. As you said, like looking at your home as a whole, what can you do before you make that change? You know, if you are going from a gas or an oil boiler to a heat pump, what things can you do first that's going to help all round whatever heating system you've got? I think that's being a bit more aware of, actually, I could do with some new windows because they're really old and I'm losing heat from them. And I think seeing the whole picture rather than just one small component of your home. But yeah, it's definitely like, let's just embrace that change, like go for it.
I'm kind of looking at buying a house at the moment and moving, and obviously my dream looks at beautiful thatched cottages but
Yeah.
my my head and my partner is kind of like, no, it won't keep the heat in.
Yeah.
And you start to consider the cost to kind of heat a home and stuff like that. Looks lovely, but
Yeah.
not at this time of life.
Not with the way energy prices are. You need
No,
to be
that's it, exactly.
spending as less as possible.
Yeah.
I wonder, because like when I left school, plumbing was really, really popular. Everybody who wanted a trade was going off to college to do plumbing, and you couldn't actually get a place because there were so many people doing it. And I wonder if we'll ever get to that point where it'll just be like heat pumps have exploded and now everybody leaving school wants to be a heat pump engineer.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
It really would be. But I agree with you, and like Karen said, it's it's about upskilling, and it's about beating those myths, isn't it? But I think those are the two key areas, like the skills and the actually getting the public to buy into the tech. And like you say, to have a holistic approach to it. And maybe we're not doing enough of that anyway in this country, but maybe we're not giving consideration to insulation and things, especially as the energy prices are rising. Even if you're not looking to put a new heating system in, actually looking at your old windows, thinking about the insulation in your loft, is there anything else you can do, is a really valid point.
I'm a big believer in sort of like fabric first. And when we have customers come to us, that's the starting point of the conversation. Where are you at with your installation? What can you do first before we look at your heating system? And we've got the government grant for the heat pumps, but actually I think the emphasis needs to be before that. It needs to be on the installation of the houses. We've got a lot of houses that have been built a long time ago, and the standards were very different to what they are today. So actually we need to look at that first. I think it's good that we've got that encouragement to, here's a grant or a scheme to encourage you to have a heat pump, but I think it does need tweaking, reviewing maybe.
I think we'll get there eventually. Like I say, maybe one day there'll be an explosion of heat pump engineers, and then we'll be talking about the next thing that we've not got the right people for.
Yeah.
One of the other areas that we tend to sort of talk about on this podcast is role models, and you are a role model yourself. But was there anybody growing up, or even now, or it doesn't have to be one person, it could be a couple of people, but have you had strong role models in your life, or have you just been finding your own way, being your own role model?
I was thinking about this earlier, and I think in my life growing up, I was always around working women who were running businesses, running families, or it was the woman who did everything. There was men in and out of my life, but predominantly I come from a family who are mainly women, and there's a lot of us. So I think probably reflecting on, how I've gone through different stages of my life, there's always been like strong women who have been there to, I guess, guide me through those, being a teenager and the challenges that come with growing up. I think looking back, I've always had good women role models. Coming into the industry, it's probably been in the last maybe 5 years where I've really looked at my network and taken inspiration from those around me, not just people within the industry, but people who work locally, people who I think, look how far they've come, people who, men and women, who have had like really, I guess, lots of experiences through their career and opportunities. And it sort of made me want to be, well, I want a slice of that. I want to go at that. If they can do it, like, yeah, let's have a go. So a bit of everyone, everywhere, like sort of all around me, want to be that strong female role model for my kids. So yeah, I sort of take bits of those women who I've met along the way and use them as sort of, my inspiration and be my role models.
You definitely are a role model, and you've had a few awards recently. Really exciting, especially the ones that are outside of industry. How has that felt to have that recognition?
Actually, it's not bad because I've been on maternity leave. So imagine what I can do when I'm not on maternity leave. I guess for me, I know like you've talked about imposter syndrome on previous podcasts, but I think for me, I never believed that I was worthy because I'm not technical. And I've talked about this to you all before quite a lot. I'm not from a technical background. I don't have that. I have an understanding, but not that deep understanding. So I've always felt like, oh, I'm not worth that because I'm not technical. Like in my industry, I'm not, I don't know that. So, but actually, I don't need to be technical. What I need to be is just visible, which I have been. So I think at a time, just had a baby, my confidence was probably quite low. Having that nomination, then being shortlisted, then winning an award actually was the confidence boost that I needed to be able to go and say, right, when I go back to work, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to go and see. These are the schools that I want to be in front of, because that's what's keeps me going, I suppose.
It's a recognition that you've got it right, that what you're doing is right, and okay, maternity leave, but it's all that build up to that and everything that you're going through, and I think that's really important. We all need that confidence boost sometimes, or someone to say, do you know what, you've done a really good job there. I think sometimes we're all so busy at work, and as you know, I work in kind of a large manufacturer, that sometimes it does just get forgotten, and it's so easy to get so many knocks that you kind of just back off a little bit on things. I think being part of this network and everything you've done, when you talked earlier, I remember talking to you after the webinar that we did, because I think you just put a comment to say, I'd really like to get more involved. We're all like, yay, someone else kind of wants to get involved.
Yeah.
And it is putting yourself forward, and it's, as well as a confidence boost, I think it's more recognition for everything that you've done and what you're bringing to kind of other people as well.
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
just about you and the awards you win, it's what you're doing for others, and people see that. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so like rewarding to be able to represent, like you say, like it's outside of industry. So the We Are the City Rising Star Awards, there was women from all sorts of walks of life in all sorts of careers, and actually like I was able to represent the HVAC industry. And I'm in a group of women with science and engineering. There's me like putting us on the map a little bit.
And that's it, you probably go to that, not just about, oh, it's just me, but oh, it's just air conditioning. It's kind of like,
yeah.
And there's rocket scientists and all sorts of kind of things. But yeah, it's so important.
I think as well, like when one of us from the industry, not necessarily just in the work in the IOR group, but anybody that's like, right, this person in the industry is up for this award. We're all so excited, and everybody's like, really, we all support each other so much. And that as well, that community that we've got together, that as well is like, oh, look at what we're achieving, look at where we're going. So yeah, that's a massive bonus as well, to have that sort of everybody like supporting you and championing you and pushing you on to the next thing. Like, you deserve this. Let's see what's next. Like, where are we going next? So yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind the last 12 months, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think I'm ready to get off the ride just yet. I want to keep going.
I love that. And off the back of what you just said, what is next for you? Like the next 5 or 10 years, where do you think you're going?
I think now I've realised that there is no limit. I can just keep pushing. So I think the next step, get back to work, get back in front of schools. I'd quite like to be doing more of this amazing stuff, but I think as well, I want to be doing these career fairs with the older, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, get talking to them, having those conversations. I think in a few years' time, it'd be really nice to like maybe do some mentoring, get involved in supporting people through their careers and helping people with their career choices. And yeah, just continue growing my network and just not really set on anything in particular, just keep growing, keep going. And I think I come across new people all the time who I get ideas from them. Oh, they're doing that, brilliant, like I want to get involved in that. So yeah, just expand my horizons a little bit more, see where it takes me.
I love it. So going back to our traditional questions from the podcast, we've all shared a few embarrassing moments. Have you got something that you're just like, oh, I wish the ground was following me up, that you're willing to share?
There's probably been quite a few over the years. Something that does spring to mind though was back during the COVID times of Teams and Zoom and everything being online, I remember I'd been introduced to somebody. They'd got a contact who, they're an electrical company and they were looking at moving more into renewables, and he thought it would be beneficial for us to know each other and have a conversation, like, let's think about collaborations. So I was like, fantastic, like, I'm going to set this all up. It's going to be like, I'm going to look really professional and I'm going to know what I'm doing. And yeah, I couldn't get the Teams call to work. I couldn't send the link properly. He got on the call and then it was all really awkward because I didn't know what I was doing and he didn't know what I was doing. And we got an hour's call and I think it lasted about 10 minutes. And you know, when you just don't know what else to say, I'm filling gaps now. So in the end, I think we just called it quits on the call, and yeah, never spoke to him again. So that was kind of like, oh, I haven't really got it together today. But yeah, that's something that I think, oh yeah, that could have gone better, but it's technology, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've all had those moments. And it sometimes, yeah, it might just be like your boss or whatever, and other times it's a really important client. I can't
I've
find
been
the
on an
link.
IOR webinar and my laptop's died, the battery's died, and there's me running down the office. Miriam's kind of talking through just to get switched back on again. Yeah, and I remember kind of doing some of the webinars in COVID, and even we did a work conference online, and just the whole panic. I had like posters all around my wall of like my scripts and things like that, and it was just, it all had to be perfect. Laptop was on books, so it was at the right height and stuff like that. But yeah, very normal now. But I do still feel kind of when we were doing interviews and things like that with people, you just, if anyone's having like trouble with Teams and things, and it's just like, it's fine, don't worry about it, you know, calm down, it's all right. Trying to make them feel really comfortable, because I imagine it's panic.
Yeah.
We all kind of, I mean, we still do it now. I was doing some of the judging for one of the awards last week, and even that's like, how do I share my screen? But yeah, it's fine.
Get there in the end.
Yeah, as we said, back to it, we're all human.
Yeah, there's another question that we've got as well. Have you had any moments where you're like, did that just happen? You know, we've talked about things like, for me, I was once on a roof in London. This guy come up to me, was literally like, do you know what you're doing, love? It's things like that. Have you got any stories like that, especially as someone who's running their own business? You know,
Yeah. So maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we had a gentleman who was inquiring about, he wanted heat pump and underfloor heating installed in his property. Now, in the office, we have Carl's sister, Kelly, who she does like the design for heat pumps. So I guess she deals with the sales right through, all the way through the project until it's completed. So he came to her. She then organised for Carl to go out and do a survey. Carl took everything back to Kelly, who designed everything and was then liaising with him. And he was quite difficult. And in the end, he just said that he didn't want to deal with Kelly. He needed to speak to a man who basically understood what he was asking, because she clearly didn't. And at the time, I remember being like, we're in the 21st century here. Like, how can you say that anymore? Because that's ridiculous. So yeah, Carl with pleasure told him that we didn't want to work with him if that's how he was, because we don't want to work with people like that. So that as well was really, really nice, because whatever, you know, Carl's always got our back. If there's a customer that's like, oh, I'm not dealing with you because you're a woman.
Yeah, I'll speak to your husband, please.
Yeah. Carl's very much like, no, if you can't deal with them, then I won't deal with you. So yeah, I couldn't believe it at the time. I thought, oh, we're definitely not in the 1950s. We're definitely capable of doing this for you. And everything that Kelly was telling him was only what Carl would tell him anyway. It wasn't, you know, any different information. The delivery would have just been different because it would have come from Carl and not from her. So yeah, glad to see the back of that project, if I'm honest.
And I suppose that's it, isn't it? As much as there's educating the industry, there's education of the general public that, yeah, women are engineers. And I mean, my poor old dad is 82, but he'll point out, oh, the Sky Lady came out. It was a woman. Sky engineer, it's a woman. And it's like, yeah, there's some of them about, but he's allowed. He's old enough.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I'll always kind of correct him on it. But yeah, I often get sometimes on the phone, well, I don't know what you know about heat pumps, or I don't know what you know about this, and you almost let it go.
Yeah,
But I hope
yeah.
we don't have to do it so much in the engineers and the people within our industry. I think they are starting to understand a bit better.
Yeah, I think in the 10 years, that's been the only customer that we've said that we won't work with because of that, for that reason. And it's a lot more people. I've never had any trouble, and since then we've never had any trouble of anybody wanting to not deal with us, or we only want to deal with a man. So yeah, I think you're right. We just need to, as long as we're here, as long as we're visible, as long as we keep talking to the general public, they'll realise that we're not going anywhere.
And then yeah, it becoming the norm. I mean, there's some great people on LinkedIn kind of working for some of the bigger gas companies and engineers talking about what they do, plumbing and heating. And I love kind of seeing that kind of stuff as well, and some of the feedback they get when they go to site and things. So it is people like that are starting to share their voice that will inspire others as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Have we got time for one last question?
Yep.
What would you say to anyone considering joining our industry? You know, a little nugget of advice.
I think for anybody that's considering it, maybe in my position that thinks, you know, you're not technical enough, you don't know enough, you will have a skill set that can be used within the industry because it's so vast and varied. And actually, the more people with different skills that we have, the better. There's loads to learn, and there's loads of different ways that you can go. I think it's beneficial to sort of anybody who wants a long career, who wants to have a sort of, you know, dip in and out of, probably a little bit like me, where you've been able to take a bit of time out to have family. I think it's fast paced, it's evolving, but there's never a dull moment, especially not in our job. Yeah, I think it doesn't matter what you can do, it's likely going to be able to be used within the industry without a doubt.
And that's it, a vast number of roles, but every day's different as well. We've often spoken on some of the previous podcasts as well about, you know, being able to be on a roof somewhere or in a different building or in an area of a building that you're not supposed to be because you're looking at design and application and stuff is really kind of what I love doing, going out to meet different people as well. It's not the same every day. And I think, like you say, especially heat pumps just evolving and changing constantly.
Yeah,
and educating people.
Definitely. And I think the people within the industry, there's so many people who can give advice as well. So if you are getting into the industry and you're a bit, I don't really know which way to go, there's lots of people who can help you and advise you.
Carley, thank you so much. It's just been like a nice little cup of tea with mates talking. I think it is well done on everything you've done so far, from initially getting involved with kind of the network, but everything that you've gone on to do, to award winning, and yeah, look forward to seeing kind of what this year brings for you as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been lovely to catch up.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa Jane. And thank you for listening to this podcast. We hope that you found it insightful and inspiring. Please like and subscribe and check out the rest of the series. It's States of Matter, and keep an eye out for our social media posts where you can see what's coming up next. And please share with your colleagues and even let us know what you want to hear more of. You can get more involved with our LinkedIn group, IOR Women in RACHP, and help to grow our community and highlight the women in our industry. Please get in contact if you'd like to reach out about anything where we can support.